live from the Real Guppy Dockside Learning and Multimedia Center. It's the Real Angler Podcast with Community Kevin Brannon, brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. And now, here's your host, Community Kevin Brannon. Today's guest, Alicia Basurto, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and author of Blooming into the Promise.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are listening to. This is Community Kev with the Real Angler Network with Real Radio. Barry, of course, the California Bear says, what's up? We have a guest in here, somebody that I kind of met at the gym, and then we're Facebook buddies and always see each other in the morning at the gym. And as we became, social media pals, seeing all the incredible work that she's doing, it's probably been about years that I've seen you, started following each other on social media and always like good morning and building up this momentum of motivation that you have, right?
Yes.
So your name is Alicia. Let me try to say it. Basurto.
Yes,
Yeah,
you got it.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
All right. And let's see. She's a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, author of this book called Blooming into the Promise. A proud Latina born in Mexico and raised in USA. She built a 7-figure insurance and top producing agency and forged an award-winning over 35-year career with Farmers Insurance. Her honors include a President's Council, Toppers Club, Championship Distinction, and the coveted title of Agent of the Year. And the highest national recognition in the company today. She shares her powerful story of perseverance, faith, courage, and leadership to inspire others to rise above limitations and walk boldly into their purpose. As a real estate investor, devoted wife of 42 years, mother of 3, and grandmother of 4, Alicia speaks from both success, the heart, helping others bloom into their own promise. So there's all kinds of stuff that we could dive in there, but I do know I see a lot of your faith stuff like us. For me, myself, leadership, courage, boldness, perseverance. There's so many things that just pop out of your bio right here that I see because I follow you on social and also see you at the gym on a daily. But, go ahead and start, telling people your story, how you got into, wherever you want to start, Farmers Insurance, some of your history. But yeah, we'll go for about 40 minutes and just jump into some of this cool stuff you have going on.
Awesome. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, Kevin, for inviting me.
It's been a while. I think I invited you like a year ago, but you had some other stuff coming up. But I've been trying to drag her in here to do our podcast for a while. So
finally, thank you so much. And I saw you the other day. I'm like, I have to do this. Yeah. So thank you again.
Yeah.
And
perseverance.
Yes. And your assistant, I want to thank him for being here too. Yeah. So yes, this means a lot to me. I feel very special that you took the time out of your busy day to invite me here and to share my story. Mm-hmm. And my story is not an easy one, and I'm sure yours isn't. Whose story is easy, right?
I got a story, man.
Yes. And I can start by saying, let's go back. I wrote this book because now that I feel that I have accomplished something in life that...
Something? That's a lot of something, but go ahead.
Yes, I walk around very humble and people tell me, don't, it's time for you to show off. Do I really want to show off? I don't know. That's not me. But I'm here to share what has worked for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it will work for you if you really focus and stay on that track mm-hmm. that you have your mindset on. The minute you fall off the track, you have to find a way to get back on that track again. And do not allow anyone to put you down, to tell you, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why? My question was like with my dad, he was a very strict person. You can't do this, you can't do that when I was a teenager. And my question was, why? Give me a reason. Tell me why. Mm-hmm. And I have, now I'm going to go back a little bit to my family, if it's okay.
Hey, yeah.
Okay, I come from a family of 10. My dad was a bracero, which is back in the 40s. America had no labor force mm-hmm. because of the World War. So there were invitations to Mexico where men, mostly men, were invited to come to America, but they had to qualify. How do you qualify? It was military style. It was like you have to be sure that you're healthy, and be responsible enough to pass all these tests. So he took the opportunity. He signed up. Guess what? He qualified, and he came to this country in the 40s. So he opened the doors, and he came in legally. So he came first, and then he brought my mom, my older siblings, and everyone was to work.
What sibling do you fall in out of the 10? What number
third,
are you?
I'm the third youngest.
Okay.
So I was like at the end. So they brought me when I was 7 years old. I was born in Mexico, but raised here. So once I'm here in the United States, I feel that I owe my parents their sacrifice for bringing us for a better life. So I feel very, very committed to whatever I say and do. I keep my promise.
Committed. See, that's the word. Everybody's up for the word for today. I think they're so important when you're committed. And again, that's where your, faith comes in, because, you got to have, unwavering faith to sometimes stick to your commitment, and lean out there like that. So
yes,
I could see that in you.
And then you find a why. So I found a why. Ever since I was growing up, I remember I used to dream about becoming somebody one day. And I had that inside of me. But my dad and my mom, he did not believe in education. They believed in hard work. That's it. Hard work, work. Nothing else but work.
So the stuff that we do with again, you said the opportunity and oceans of opportunity, when we talk to, because they put me in a lot of discussion and roundtable groups about, low income or just diversity and these different topics, right? And I explain that to people that some of it is a cultural difference, right? Where we understand it's admirable to work hard, but to say, Dad, I want to be a millionaire, we never talked about it at the table.
No.
So they can't fathom that mentally, to be like, it does seem out of reach or out of touch, right? But, that belief that we have. So when I talk to people, it's not always an economic breakdown. Some of our generational stuff that changes is just getting out of a middle-class mindset to get to a different mindset of abundance, right?
Yes.
Because there's nothing wrong with being of work, going to work every day and feeding the family and putting food on the table that you might have had to do a generation ago. But as they're flourishing and growing, it's time for us to change that. But also, so when we're talking about the word development and leadership, that's why you have to develop, because again, our grandparents came, they were digging coal out of the coal mines in Pennsylvania. And then my grandfather, when he worked on the duck hunting club and working on a ranch, you could see that generation of that hard work that went in. And just because now we're doing things differently doesn't make the generation any less than or weaker,
easier.
Right? It's just a new model.
Exactly.
But you should always be thinking in abundance. And again, just going to that, you're proving my point again. Sometimes in the households of different cultures like that's the belief. But again, it's because they want you to, it's admirable, but it also takes care of the bills, the things you could do, but you might not get as much passion and love what you really love to do. And you could also want to excel and not kind of just be, stuck in this one part. So appreciate you saying that part, because again, sometimes when I'm talking to people, they want to just make it seem like it's always an economic breakdown.
No.
But again, if you look at the way certain cultures are, that's important to look at, to give that to look at that.
Yeah. So even though my parents had that mindset, I decided to have my own mindset. When I was growing up, I decided, okay, one day I'm going to do my own. And then I meet my husband. And my parents had me like a...
Were you always here in the Ventura County area?
I was always in the Ventura County. But then I go to Mexico, I meet my husband, and I'm 18. And we meet, and I was on a vacation. And then we fall in love. And then here he is. So we want to live in Mexico or want to live here? And I said, no, I don't want to live in Mexico. So we ended up here. So at first he didn't like it. He's like, oh, I don't want to work in the fields, because he was studying to be an attorney. Okay. So then he's like, I don't want to be working in the fields, because that was the only opportunity to get a job like this. And then we moved back. Once we're there, he's like, I don't think I made a good decision. And to me, I wanted him to be happy. So here I was like a puppet. Let's do this. Okay. Once we're here, I'm like, okay, no more playing around, no more going back and forth. We're going to stay here. I found a job. I applied for a
Committed,
job.
right?
Yes, my commitment. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to follow his direction. I want to my own.
Yeah.
So then, thankfully, he allowed me to. Well, I say allowed because in our culture is like, oh, if he doesn't let you, no, none of that. I changed my generational cycle because I'm not going to be another.
Well, we have to coexist, right? You know, we got to coexist together, and because again, with faith, right?
Yes,
it's not a submission of a wife just submitting to your husband like I tell you everything to do, right? But again, when you have to coexist together, right?
Yes.
You know, there's not a submit of like and that's again with cultures, sometimes it could be, you know, in different cultures that it is that's such a strict hierarchy, and Hispanic is one of them, right? And you know, Asian is like that, you know, Middle Eastern, there's ones where it's really, you know, that aspect of it. But to really build a happy home and the things that you want to do and start to change your generation, take advantage of your American dream that you wanted, you know, without compromising who you are and what you're doing, you got to, you know, and that's where you guys have been together 42 years.
42 years.
You could see that there was the love that was built into that it wasn't just a control type of a feeling, you know?
So then I told them what I wanted to do, and I signed up. There was a job opportunity at this to become a receptionist at Farmers Insurance Agency.
I read this story the other day where you're like 19 something.
Yes, yes. So I apply, and then even though I had no background for office work or anything, and I deep inside I'm like, I'm trainable. As long as they want to train me, I will learn.
Develop. See if you want it.
And I will develop.
So here's where it comes, because we always do these little motivational moments, and that's what we teach here with the development, is really trying to find that passion that people that want to be developed. And not some people are okay with going with it, and that's okay. And then there's some people that are driven, that as leaders we should be, that's what we pour into, right? So I'm sure people seen that drive and what you had, and that's when you're more likely to get people to really put wood on your fire, right?
Yes. So my boss gave me 30 days probation. He's like, if you don't make it, I'm sorry, there's plenty of girls that want to work here.
See, my son's coming in. Go ahead, keep going. I'm listening.
Yes. So I thought to myself, I'm going to make it no matter what. Those 30 days are my opportunity to work in an office. I was so happy that I was given an opportunity to work in an office under air conditioning. I was going to have a nice lunch break and all that. So I would go home after 5. And my husband was like, why are you coming home at 6 if you get off at 5? Well, that extra hour, I want to learn. Well, the guy's not paying you. Why? I'm like, okay.
You're investing your time.
I was learning. I didn't care if I was getting paid or not. I wanted to learn.
So listen, again, that's why you call it investment, right? If you invest your time into your craft, again, it's so valuable, right? How you spend your time and how you invest your time. So if you're investing your time into development, look where it could lead to, right? Again, you're willing to give up an hour because it might not pay dollars right then and there, but what it's putting in the bank for you to have long-term.
Exactly.
Right. And then you also stand out with your employer or who you're working with because they're selling what you're willing to sacrifice to get there, right? So those are words to take with you guys.
You think
commitment,
he liked that?
Sacrifice. What's up?
You think he liked it?
Probably more than liked.
He loved it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. No, jump in there.
Yeah. So the sacrifice, I never complained. I remember all I was very excited. Very excited. And I never planned on having my own business. None of that.
But you planned on being, I think, again, if we go back, you planned on being something. So you already had that ambitious drive that was already inside, So just by showing up with that. And I know when I used to live with my parents or my mom, I remember one time we were staying in the motel again, and I was down on motel room floor when I was like 15, and I was like, there's something more for me to do out here. I can't get by like this. I already had it inside of me. If I'm collecting cans or selling lemonade, it drove me to being independent and just knowing that there was something more for me to do in this world than just settle like that, breaking the generational gap or whatever you want to call it. But because again, I don't, the way we grew up off of Wainimi Road, everybody in our family had alcohol problems, from my great grandma coming from the missile stop, right? So we had this Irish curse of drinking and getting violent and stuff like that. Ooh. But I just knew that, again, something inside of me, like you said, was just like, I want to do something. I want to be something more, So, and then you have that. Then I would work at the snack bar with Miss Morrison, and she gave me a job, and I was her paper boy first, and she's seen the ambition, and she would just pour into me as I was learning how to do it.
You earned that respect.
Yeah.
Because some people say, oh, they don't respect me. Well, have you earned it?
Yeah.
you earn respect.
And sometimes you got to have self-respect too. If you have
Yeah.
self-respect first, you don't worry about who respects you and who doesn't. And that's just something that we learn with too, because that could tie in to our emotions and how we react and respond to something. If we need validation of somebody else's respect, you know, but it is something that you have to earn depending on, again, which direction in life you want to go, you know. But again,
Exactly.
your self-respect should lead that as well.
Yes. So once I got hired, and then I start working at that office, I remember I was asking my boss. He actually put me in a desk, and he said, "Okay, here, now you have to sell insurance." I have to sell, yeah, with 1 day training. 1 day training. So he said, "Okay, anytime a customer walks in, they want to insure a car. This is something." And back then there was no computers, no fax. We're talking about 1985. Okay. So to me, it was like, okay. So I pulled their file and I would ask him the question, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I would like back and forth to his office, back and forth. And that really helped me a lot. Because
ask. So ask. That's what we talk about in our fishing is like, if we teach you to just ask, because there's a certain time when you get to an age where people shut down and don't want to be authentic and ask because they don't want to admit that they don't know something. And that happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So that's what we say, ask for help. True. You know, if you need, that's why when we're fishing, like, let me show you how to tie your hook. Let me show you how to bait your hook, right?
Yeah.
And ask a couple of times, but again, in about an hour, expect you to kind of be a pro at this, right? Because we went through the repetitions, but the first thing is just saying, hey, I don't know how to bait this hook, man. Can you help me out with that?
Can you tell me again?
So ask.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to ask, whatever. What do you want? So then my boss saw that I was a fast learner and I was willing to put in the time. And I was like, I don't care if you pay me minimum wage, you pay me $2.95 an hour, because back then that was minimum wage and I didn't care.
Do you get any commission on your sales?
No.
Like that? Or was it straight hourly?
Just straight hourly. And I started blooming into that office, blooming. I stayed there 10 years. Then from there, I moved on to another office because
and when you were there, so you went from secretary, and then as a secretary, you had to sell insurance too. So did you move up from? Is there like a position shift, or you were secretary selling?
There was a 3-man office. It was him, his son, and me. And I was a manager. I was a receptionist. I was a salesperson. I was the claims person. So whenever, like, I'd go to lunch, and whenever I come back, okay, Alice, they had an accident, so I have to call them back. So I learned to work at a speed that is like, throw me into the wolves and I will take care of those wolves. And that is where my brain really evolved in multitasking and learning, because I didn't want to get fired. So you tell me what I do and I'm going to try, no matter what, that I'm going to learn.
So when you went to this new office, was it like, I guess was the role since you had all those transferable skills and you've built such a great portfolio in that one office, was it able to excel you to a different? When you left in 10 years, what did you go into doing the same type of thing? I went
to do the same thing because I had my reputation in the community that I was that I knew a lot, that I was this and that. So, and the reason that I left is because he cut my hours to part-time, because he was not reinvesting his funds into the agency. So the first person that he cut the hours was me, and it was hard for me to live on part-time. So I had no choice than to leave. So I cried because that agency was like, it touched my heart. Yeah, it was my home to my clients. They loved me, I loved them, and it was all hourly. So I never did it for like money, like commissions.
I'm sure you got an inner gratification of the work you're doing though too, the fulfillment that sometimes I think that's important in the work that you get, you know, is the fulfillment that you feel like you're getting too, you know, that helps.
You know what, I look back and that there, because I was multitasking and doing so much, that really helped my self-esteem. Because I was scared. At first, my self-esteem was not good at all growing up. I felt the ugliest person. I felt like, because my dad didn't let me have a boyfriend. I feel no, I'm never gonna have a boyfriend because I'm so ugly, you know.
No, I was reading something, and I don't know if it was you that posted. It was a movie, and it was called Ugly Duckling Syndrome.
That was me.
Yeah, did you hear about that? I was watching Shallow Hal, and I had that ugly duckling feeling syndrome, because that's why I'm so good with my personality and my jokes, because maybe my personality and me telling jokes and being cool would get past the insecurities that I had. And he called that in the movie Shallow Hal the other day, but it was called Ugly Duckling Syndrome. Yeah. I never heard it broken down like that before, but then I was like, so
that's why.
So again, you're learning, you built your confidence and your self-esteem by working so hard in there to get developed. So see how that all works together? Yes. You start to build confidence, You start to build your self-esteem. You start, then before you know it, right, no doors can
Then
hold
he
you
would
back,
tell
right?
me, wow, you're learning so fast. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm learning. So that really boosted up my self-esteem, that clients walked in and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody but you, just me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so special. And I didn't care that I had a truckload of work. I didn't care. So I'd come home all, but
Exhausted.
I didn't care because I was building my career unknowingly, my future.
So we call this the Mr. Miyagi effect here. You ever watch the old Karate Kid?
No.
Like you're learning, he's teaching the kid how to throw, that he's sanding the floor and painting, and he's really teaching him how to block kicks and stuff, right? So he knows no idea that he's learning something because it's just built into it.
Exactly.
So that's how it is, right? It's the Mr. Miyagi. All of a sudden you're a ninja. You turn into a ninja without realizing that you are a ninja, right? You got these black belt degree skills that one day you're just like, wow, like you said, you could block any punch and kick. So you're being, again, developed, but they're by pouring into you and reassuring you and teaching you, again, your repetitions are growing. So yeah, we call it the Mr. Miyagi. So that means you're developing without even knowing it, right? And then again, he throws a punch at the kid in the movie, and he's like, oh, the whole time you were teaching me to be this. I thought you were just having me over here working, cleaning your house. But
yeah, exactly. So my first employer, I got him to be one of the best agencies in Oxnard back then. I helped him build a top producing, but I had no idea. All I was working was very hard because I never worked on commission or bonuses, none of that. All I wanted to have a job, and I was so happy to be in an office. So
I'm sorry to keep cutting you off. I get to the 10 years. So 10 years later, you get to another spot. You gotta keep it moving. Let's
not go back, right? Okay. So the 10 years I start working at $11 an hour. We're talking about 1995. So my employer, he interviews me and he tells me, oh, I'm not sure that I can afford you, because his agency was 2,200 policies. And I know that because every time he talked to somebody and he wanted something done with a company, he'd say, my agency is 2,200 policies. And you know what? You better help me. So that's how I learned. It was just him and I. Then we started growing again and we started hiring girls. So then when I left him 8 years later with over 6,000, almost 7,000 policies. And again, it was not commission. The only commission he paid me was on the life insurance, because I would bring in the sales from home insurance.
So when you say bring it in, are you out like doing networking events or something, like tabling? How do you recruit?
Just my they didn't even see, I can't even say my good looks because they didn't even see me. It was on the phone.
All personality, So it's interesting when we did a call for our kids from iCast, and we had to book a meeting. Actually, no, it was with the Kirby dealer for a fundraiser. And he goes, are you smiling on the other side of the phone? He's like, because people on the other side of the phone can tell whether you're smiling or not. So again, you could bring that cool.
So I learned that.
Just that energy.
I taught the girls I put a little sticky on their my computer screen. Smile when you're talking, because you can feel. So the client would call in for whatever, and I would be, oh, hi, how are you? And blah, blah. Even on an accident, I wasn't going to be laughing on an accident, but in an accident, you have to show empathy because I care about people. So they truly enjoy talking to me because in an accident, I really kept track of their accident until it got handled. And who does that?
Personalizing it, humanizing it. That's fantastic.
Not many people do that. They're just like, oh, an accident, here's a 800 number, that's it. No, I personalized them. I cared, and I guided them. And I would tell them, okay, get a folder, and you had an accident, start logging down who you talk to, what they tell you, and make sure that you do keep records. So I would hold their hand. So then my boss found out. He said, why you do so much for our clients? And I said, because I'm sorry, but that's what I like to do. I like to help them.
I like to deliver on what we say we're going to do. How crazy is that?
He said, I noticed that you take too long with our clients, but now I see why, because my agency is growing.
Well, it's quality though, right? So when we're in pest control, me and Scotty, that's some of our background, right? We have these absolutes, we have these slogans on the wall we should talk about. Now, if you keep giving us so many orders, we're going to water down the chowder to where it's not going to taste the same, right? Like you just it's more watery than there is clams and potatoes, right? So it's like, do you really want us to, what do you want to sacrifice? Quality? It takes what it takes at a house. It takes me 45 minutes at a house to make sure everything is done correctly. So if you give us too many service orders, how are we really supposed to spend that quality time? So again, what do you want to talk about at the meeting? Is it quality and care for our customer, or is it on to the next customer? Because you got to let me know which one you do, because we're supposed to be led that this is the way that we're supposed to operate.
Your name has a reputation. You have to make sure that reputation is there. So I walk in my community, I'm in church, all my clients, you know, they love me, I love them, I say hi, blah, blah, blah. So I never hid from anybody. Oh, I can't, you know, I didn't do their policy right, because I took my job very, very serious. And that's, I think, what brought me the success that I built down the road.
I'm gonna say it's more than think. I'm gonna say that's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just secure that right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think because what you have to be careful what you say, because you have to deliver.
Yeah.
If you just talk and don't deliver, don't talk.
Mean what you say and say what you mean.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not too much. Yeah, you got to deliver. Sometimes we got to over, you know, and this, when I worked at Clark, it was always exceed the customer's expectation.
Exactly.
And then what would happen is you build a value so that when somebody does try to come up and poach them, like, well, you really can't do what Kevin does. You know, it's not, oh, just your exterminator or the guy that kills your bugs. No, that's Kevin.
Yeah.
That's our guy.
He goes out of his way and to make sure that I'm taken care of.
Yeah, he knows my name. He know what I mean? Like, you cannot do, you build such a stronghold that, you know, I don't care if it's $50 and Kevin charges us $90. You're not Kevin, so you can't do everything that. And then when they would say your name, versus just, you know, like, oh, I have an insurance guy. When they say you by the name and they know your name, so every time I'd always put a business card in there. Always had a pocket full of business cards in my top pocket. No matter if I've serviced yours for 3 years, I don't never want you not to be able to get a hold of me. I'll tell you one thing was funny. My kids, I have my white voice. So they know when I would make my pest control calls, like, Dad's on the phone with us, because I'd be like, hey, how's it going? This is Kevin with Clark Pest Control, just letting you know I'll be out tomorrow to take care of your service. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh yeah, I could handle that. And they would just be laughing in the other room listening to me make my pre-calls the night before, because I would go into this professionalism that is important, you know, and then they would know it, right? I know your barbecue pit, I know these different details. And again, by spending that 10 minutes on the phone, you know, it might not be with every customer, but the ones that are specific like that. But again, that's how you also get your referrals, right? That's how you start co-living with the neighbors. So there's a lot more into this investing of that quality time with people that you can't, you know, stick into
and you just have to be able to have patience with people, because remember, you work in the customer service field. Some customers, like you said right now, are willing to talk, and some are not the talking type, and you have to respect that, be able to read.
So the training that we got too with that is, like, especially in the intergenerational, is you could have some, and this is what Clark would help us with, Clark Pest Control, is that you have somebody that just wants to put down a card and never wants to see you. And you got somebody that wants to ask a bunch of questions. And you have somebody in between, right? Just give me a summary. And you got to know how to go through it. You can't just be like, you know, speedy going through it. Because again, then you don't set the realistic expectation in the long run either, right? Because we didn't have great communication on the front. I was just trying to get the sale. I forgot the details. I was just trying to get the numbers, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, they would teach us that, of how you deal with those people that are, you know, this way. They teach us how to stand at a door. So that way you're hard. I mean, they really put in the time and effort, some real training, so that again we build value, and we didn't have very many cancellations. And then you go to other companies where you don't want to give you 18 orders a day and wonder why we're getting cancels. It's because again we can't really hit the customer's expectation, because you've put a workload on me that's unbearable. And then expect me to have quality at the same time.
Exactly.
So sacrifice.
Sometimes you got to sacrifice.
All right. So you moved from that office. When did you get to how did you start opening up yours, and what did you do?
In 2002 is when I decided to go on my own. That's when my husband had his own business. And
what was he doing at the time now? We wanted to be a lawyer, and he was working in the fields. What did he do?
He was working the landscape. Okay. Then he had a landscape business. So then we had I told him, okay, in order for me to go on my own, you have to assure me that you're going to go out and get more accounts, because we have bills to pay. We were homeowners and all that. He said, yeah, you do whatever you have to do. I will support you 150%.
Support people.
Yes, support. Teamwork. Yeah. If you don't believe in teamwork and you want to build a business, a legacy.
Trying to build a legacy empire. See right there, it says Brannon right there. Yeah, we're building a legacy. That's why I have all the pictures of my kids and my grand, you know what I mean? Because we really are building a legacy.
A legacy. Right? And that legacy is what I am very proud that my family built, a legacy with my leadership. And 2002
See why I wanted to get her on the show?
Yes, I get so excited when I know. Talk.
and I picked up on most of this, just your vibe at the gym. You and your husband always work out together. And then again, just watching your constant post and your stories about this stuff, you know what I mean? Like you don't let the gas off. It's such a continuation. So I was able to again pick up on that vibe just from brief interactions and watching the stuff that you were posting and highlighting, you know?
Yes, I just feel very happy when I inspire somebody, because when I inspire you, I inspire myself. I take that very serious.
To inspire is one of the number one human, actually human.
Yes.
Is inspiration. So this Nipsey Hussle guy up on this side, listening to a lot of his stuff. If you see me on Friday, I share it. And that's what, even when, maybe put it into perspective, because you have your why, right? Why you do what you do, but some of that is just for people, man. Inspiring people is something that, at the end of the day, it might be through his art, it might be through your, but at the end of the day, inspiring people is what we should focus on, and then how we navigate to that through our craft or our passion or our purposes. There it is.
And avoid drama. Okay, I tend to avoid drama because, trust me, sometimes in the family, they say this, they say that. You know what? If they have a question or a problem, they can come directly to me. Thank you. That's how I handle drama. I don't hear it. I don't want to hear it.
We say we just speak truth over here. All right.
Right?
So go ahead. You got your spot in 2000, which your husband did landscaping, and you went into 2002.
So then he said, yes, go for it. So then I told my employer that I was going to go on my own.
Did you get support on that, or did they were like, you're not going to make it? How did you get support there? Because I know when I was ready to be a filmmaker, it was like, your stupid show you're going to college to do. That's why when I develop my people here, like, I know you're going to leave. I hope you take all the skills you learned here and go forward and build your own lifestyle the way you want to do it.
Yes.
But I've been at a position where, I'm wasting my time on this film thing. It's stupid. You don't want it,
Oh, you hear that? Negative.
You don't get that.
So I did not get support from my ex-employer. I did not get support from him. In the other way, I got the unsupport, which is the bad side of a support. And I leave it like that.
More of a suppressant than a supporter.
You can read my book for that. Yeah. So, but that was like, it fired me up to show that I was capable.
So now you have a why. Now you got to show them what time it is, right? So
now
you just got
get somebody gassing me up.
Again, so on the train track, right? That momentum is just chugga. That train is taking off, right? And it's starting to build up because now you got it all.
To build up. Exactly. So I did not bring any of my clients. Because I worked there, they were not my clients. They were my boss's clients, and I totally understand that.
We have that same with pest control.
Exactly. So I had to build my own clients, and I did. I was blessed because my name was already so well known in the community that, oh my God, so many people started pouring in and trying to help me build my business because they felt I deserve. I don't like to say I deserve it because you're not supposed to.
No, because again, so we talked about this last night in our men's group. There is, because you talk about the fruit, right? How did you have bitter fruit? Like, what does your fruit look like, bearing fruit? But also when it's your harvest season, you've been planting and you've been taking care of their field for so long that when you get grace and favor, you're not like, again, when Peter had to pull up the net and he said, put your net right here. I don't want to, I'm tired. And then hey, can somebody come and help? Right. And they had to pull so much in because again, it was his
the
season.
Fruit of
it
your
was a
labor.
favor. Right.
That's
right.
So that was the fruit of my labor, my clients, my policy holders. So then my name in the community started the word of mouth. Oh, Alicia opened up her own agency. She opened up her own agency. So I did my open house to let the world know. I was so happy. I was no longer going to be a shadow in an agency. I was my own agency owner.
So is that a total of about 19 years?
That was
from 10 years with one and 9 years with another one?
Yeah, around 19 years after that, I decided to open up my own. And people would tell me, why don't you go on your own? Well, I'm comfortable. I had a 9-to-5 job. I had 3 kids. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I still had insecurities. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Right.
When my paycheck the first month was more than what I was making all those years, per month. Yeah. Of course, being self-employed is different. But I was like, when I opened up my own agency, I invited the mayor of Oxnard. I invited the priest of my church. And then I invited my community. So it was such a blessing. And everyone so many people were there. You know what I served? Tamales. So tamales.
That'll bring everybody out there. That's you lure them in with some good eats and the right people, man, like
Mexican bread. And so I had clients actually volunteered to help me with my little open house because it was a small agency.
They want to see you champion and win. I thought I read champion here somewhere.
Yeah, I got the champion. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the champion spirit, right? There it is. Champion distinction, Yes.
The first one.
So when I tell people, Dan, you just listen when I jump in with her excitement, right? When the street, as we say in the world, when the streets say that, like Community Kevin is a name that I gave myself, right? Because the streets want to see you win, right? And they wanted to see you win. They knew who you were, all that. It was just you having a little, so I call this I got a metaphor and something for all my slogans, right? But you're like, when you jump out of an airplane for the first time and there's a tandem guy on your back, right? Because it's your first time. So what they'll do is they'll say, on the count of 3, I'm going to push you out. We're going to jump out. They say 1 and they push you because they know at 3 you're going to pull back. So you were like rating at the, but you had those things that were kind of like,
No
can I
second
do
thoughts.
it? Should I do it? Right. And when you had to kind of do it, they're like, wow, look at this, great. You know what I mean? But you were there, it sounds like, with again, the insecurities that we all carry to go through it. And then when it, again, you just blossom because of all that stuff that you did. You just had to.
So my blossoming, I learned to kick those insecurities in the butt. No more insecurities. Now.
With those shoes? Those are nice. He can do it with those.
Especially, I always wear heels with my pumps. Not to the gym, though. I don't wear heels to the gym.
I seen a girl on Instagram yesterday doing squats in pumps. I thought, wow.
That's enough.
I had to scroll.
No, thank you.
No, that's epic.
Yeah. So, where were we at?
Let's see. You just opened up. You had your open house, and then you looks like you went on to award winning and built it, and just kept growing. And so, tell us more about what do you set up like? Are these okay? So again, if just as a comparison, but not comparison to pest control, is like you have these top honors that you get into these different cups. Is that what you did? You just did you make it a goal to do that, or you were just on fire and
I was so on fire.
It would just
I would
be
not
like,
even pay attention to my numbers because my district manager was so excited about my numbers that he would keep track for me.
Yeah.
And he's the one that in Canada, and my book's there, that was the biggest surprise of my life, where I got agency of the year, agent of the year, rookie agent of the year, because I had only been in business self-employed for 1 year. When I get that award,
but you were like, you were in the minor leagues just killing it. You know what I mean? It's like, again, using a metaphor, like, what's his name? Bellinger, right? Yeah. He's in there, hitting dingers, right? And they call him up and he's just putting him out of the field like nothing, right? You had no, like you put in all that work in your training camp so that when you went there, you were a rookie for the Dodgers like this guy, but you were a professional and ready to go already. You know?
Exactly.
So some of you that be listening might be professionals already. You just afraid to go up to the big league, man.
Yeah, so, you got to do it.
Go ahead. Yeah, like you said,
you just
came out of the gates just crushing it.
I went crushing it. I sold over 1,000 policies a year my first year. And who does that? Small agencies have 1,000 policies. And I did it in my first year.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? I
couldn't
even
after
believe
hearing
it
your story
myself.
and seeing it. Yeah.
So but I didn't have much of a life. I would like go in at 7 o'clock and go home at 7. Thankfully for my husband, how he would help me with the kids, because I even worked on Sundays. I was going to make it no matter what. And I also got licensed
but you have to, like, again, part of that is like, as an entrepreneur and what you're doing, you just got to go all in, put all your chips on, and then you could start to settle back and say, like me and Scotty were talking, I'm like, I think I need a week vacation, because I've been grinding at this for so long. Saturday was on the first night I went out to, there was a music in the park with the port put on, and I'm like, I haven't been here. You never been here? I'm like, well, do you realize I worked on Twilight boats?
Look like this?
Yeah, right. I look like I've been working Twilight boats for the last 4 years, right? Because I'm working here, keeping the doors open, but it's not enough to cover it. So I'm working on a sport boat. I've sacrificed my summers.
Yes.
This is the first summer I've been out where it's like, I'm gonna go out and mingle a little bit, right? And socialize,
how it feels.
right? And being like, but you have to do that as a solopreneur. You have to do that when you're chasing your dream, and then you can learn how to start having that that balance,
So then what my husband
not balance, but you know what I'm saying,
do,
right? Where you start to say, okay, I don't have to focus all my time primarily on that.
Yeah. So to feel less guilty with the kids, what my husband and I decided to do is to bring them along when we did appointments, because he would wait in the car with the kids while I met with a client in a house.
You're gonna do like a movie, like an Aaron Brockovich. We'll do one with you, man. We do a little reenacting, That'd be cool.
Yeah, he would wait for me with the kids, and then we would drive them over to Bakersfield, to Lompoc, because I would actually go and inspect the properties myself, or go meet clients. Or we went to Santa Barbara one time. I met a client at a bar one time in Santa Barbara. He only had $10,000 to invest, and my husband's waiting for me in the parking lot, and I'm doing my.
We gotta get this on a movie for real, like, Yes. What is that movie?
It sounds funny,
what was I watching
true.
The clips from what's it called? Happiness? Well, Will Smith, Pursuit of Happiness,
Oh,
Yeah, that's like some Pursuit of Happiness type of movie clips you could see happening,
Yeah.
All right, so then you blow up, you become a Farmers Insurance Top Honors President's Council. How did you get into the book writing and stuff? What got you there? And let's transition a little bit into
the book. Okay, maybe
I think we're gonna have to go a full hour on this one, man. We can't cut this short. Just keep it going.
We can do what we want.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
So like 10 years prior, before I retired, an agent came into my office one time and he said, you know what, Alice, you were referred to like by so many people And the way I see you in the community, you need to start writing a book. And that really stayed in the back of my head. I said, maybe one day. But you think I was going to spend time writing a book when I'm over here representing my agency? No, I had no time. My dedication to my agency was there.
Not a priority.
Not a book was not a priority. Then I retired. And then at my retirement, I told my friends at my party.
Do you think you really retired, or you just moved on to a new, you know what I mean? Like, you don't seem like the kind of person that maybe you stopped doing that, but I don't think I think you just shifted. Like, it's just a time for you to shift into something else. I don't know if the word retirement fits with you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not on a golf course or fishing. You know what I mean? Done having dinner at 4 o'clock with your husband.
I still look at my calendar. You know,
you just got a new season and some more stuff for you.
I'm so happy that my son was so able to take over the legacy and took the challenge, because that agency is the largest.
I've seen your post too for that. And when you share that time, you know, like Kevin Jr.'s over there working on stuff for us right now, you know, and it's like, again, when I see you doing stuff it's a trip out. It's a trip out. Again, being inspiring people that don't even know, but just from your post and watching what you're doing, I'm like, that's it right there.
It's a goal.
So I've seen you do that. But then for me, watching as a business owner and developer, to be like, look, there's the proof that it's possible.
It's possible. And it's just a dedication. Of course, your kids have to want to have that passion that you have. Yep. You can't push the passion onto somebody. So that's my oldest, because I have 2 other kids, and they're like, no, thank you, insurance. But my oldest is Manny, and he started working for me when he was 20 years old. So he's like doing what I like, following my footsteps on everything. And
you learn from the best.
Yes.
Like King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr., just learning from the best, soaking it up. That's cool, man. Yeah.
When I left, he said, Mom, I never knew how hard it was going to be to fill your shoes. Because, oh my God, he was so overwhelmed. But now he's another person. Now he's 100% on his own, earning, winning, championship awards, all that on his own now. And I'm extremely proud of him.
That's cool, man. Look at that. You're going to get choked up on this show, huh? We're going to get a tear. That helps with ratings.
Okay. I didn't know, so let's go.
Remember that one guy we had when he was talking about his grandpa? It was a guy with our bass, and he started like tearing up on our show talking about his grandpa.
Yeah.
It was just quiet in the room. It was such like we get.
So one time, now that you say that, one time I hired this older lady, and she's like, oh, I want to work here and blah, 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 and I want to retire here. So then a week, she comes to me and she tells me, she was crying. Oh, I didn't know how difficult this was. And she started crying. And then I cried with her. I'm like, oh, I know.
That's real feel, though.
I cried with her.
That lady probably never left your side, right? She's probably still insured with you, right?
You know, she's like, oh, and I got up and gave her a hug. And she's like, oh, Alice, thank you for the opportunity. I don't know how you do it. And I was crying with her.
Cry together sometimes. You got
we cried together.
Oh my God. Now I'm going to be the one up here shedding tears. I understand that, man. So then you got to this, to the book, Blooming into the Promise.
Yes.
How I, a Latina, broke my generational cycle and manifested my vision. So tell us, look at Book Excellent Award. Look, all she does is win, people.
I love to win.
Yeah, so no matter what your insecurities are, you know, whatever we think we can't accomplish, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about this as far as if you never wrote a book, again, now you're asking for help, right? To ask a publisher or somebody how to put together a book, right?
Yes. So I went to I used to belong to an organization for real estate agents called National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Agents, and they invited a speaker, and that speaker really touched me. So I'm like, okay, I want to be like her one day. So then after that, we talked, and she wrote a book, and she's actually going to bring out her movie on Netflix soon.
Who's that? Can you say the name?
Yeah, Julie Sands.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been interviewed, and I'm kind of like behind her. I'm like, she's mentoring me. Yeah. So I believe if I could help somebody by mentoring them, that's how life works. Yeah. You help me, I help you, and then that's how it should be. You know, no second thoughts, right? Just follow your light.
She's got her North Star, right? To stay focused on your North Star. Everybody's North Star.
Your life.
So is there a particular reason, again, that you went this direction as far as like, so if you're manifesting your vision, is this kind of showcase like the struggles that you went through or all that part about it, not just all I did was win. You kind of you dig in more. Tell us about the book.
Yes. Okay. So at first, when I first was writing the book, I did hire a coach. Because I could be an insurance champion, but I'm not a writer. So I understand that I needed help.
Specialized knowledge, you got to get it.
Exactly.
Right?
So I went to the right source. My publisher offered a coach, and I took advantage, and she coached me. My coach, her name is Leslie. She's invited me to one of her programs at the end of the month because she wants me to be there. She's written another book on how to put your story on ink, and she wants me there and a couple of other ladies that she helped. So I told her that I needed help.
Let me ask you this question, a quick one. Because I know with the fellas, what we're trying to develop, is it only for women, or is there, is she just primarily helping ladies grow, or is it for
everybody,
men and women? Okay.
Everybody. She can help you if you want. Yeah. And she told me, remember, Alice, you're going to write the book, but you're going to write what people want to hear, what people want to read. Because I told her, well, I'm embarrassed to show this awards. And she said, no, Alice, you have to show that what people can be capable of. If you don't write it, how are they going to know? Because I've always thought that humble. My mom told me, she said, Alice, if you ever become a millionaire, she said, please always be the same person, never change.
So with the faith part, right? Because again, where we have faith, is that we always have this like self-inventory of how do we really celebrate, right? Like, are we showboating? We showing off? Like, what is, are we being proud or prideful? Stop? Yeah, like, what are we allowed to spike the football in the end zone, and just be like, look, man, how hard it worked for me to get here. Like, I want to, hold up the victory belt a little bit, without somebody coming along and trying to remind you to be humble. It's like, yeah, but it's nothing wrong with enjoying my achievement too, right?
Yeah. Don't
get upset. So there's always just interesting how, we got to almost, I like the Muhammad Ali version, right? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to sting you like a bee. I'm going to sting you like a bee. And then when you put the camera in the microphone, like, can you believe you won? You're like, yeah, I was up running. I was doing my sit-ups. I isolated myself. I trained like a champion. He's knocked out like I told you I was going to do. Now, if you're a fighter and you have that attitude, then it's like, oh, he's cocky. Why aren't you allowed to brag a little bit about yourself without people getting so, to enjoy that? So just something I wanted to bring up, right? Like, or if you do too good, now they have winner's fatigue, right? Like, oh, I liked it when you were kind of winning. Now you're really winning, not everybody, but it's just like, it's interesting that, we got to.
Some people have a hard time seeing others win, perhaps because they need to learn how to win themselves and because they're not able to. So they take it out on the winners. Yeah. So to me, it's like, don't be like that.
But going back to it, because when I used to post up pictures of like our kid fishing day, I wouldn't really post them and share them because I didn't want people thinking I'm utilizing that. And there's something called paralysis by analysis, where we're analyzing what could be said or done. And it's like, I don't want people to think I'm just showing these kids to highlight my fishing show. And people would be like, they need to see what you're doing though.
Exactly.
So it took somebody else to tell me it's okay for you to not feel like you're going to get judged because you're trying to highlight the good that you're doing, right?
Yes.
But some of us are like, oh, we don't want to let the spotlight. We're just doing it for the right reasons. And somebody has to come along and saying, yeah, but it's okay for you to share that success for people to see it, Where we're like, it's just something we just want to be genuine and help people out. And then we have to do that and then again, the church part of the prior side is, and then over here, it's like, oh, I'm not being humble enough because I am, don't let the left hand, let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. But it's like, how are we as people are able to have a little bit of celebration and do it without,
I've learned that people are going to talk good or bad. So might as well be yourself. Do whatever makes you happy.
Hear that, people?
So
I get it. I'm just saying like how we go through it, but even somebody still teaching you like, yeah, you want to hear what you have to say, like share your trophies and stuff with us,
I learned with time. Trust me. I used to hide. I used to, no, not anymore. Yeah. I am going to be.
For his glory?
Yes. I think it's a good thing. And I think I'm doing something good for my community, for myself, for my family. So might as well share.
How about that?
For the world.
The world.
Yeah, I have some books that sold in UK and in Spain.
In the world.
So there we go.
International players up in here today. That's right.
Yes,
I know our children's workbooks, I was telling them I want to get them translated into German and other, because they're going to make this area a little German kind of theme. Carl's land.
Really?
It's coming up. That's this little pin here for Carl's. But I was like, if you guys have stores there, would you guys take our books and sell them in your artisan stores over there? Like, yeah, that's a possibility, Kev.
Wow.
So, but again, always thinking gigantic and universal.
Me too. I always thought my business, even though it was a small business when I first started, I'm like, I'm going to think big. I've always thought big. One day I dreamed that I was going to have agents, and I did. At one time, we were 10 in the office. So to me, just offering a job to my community and training them, and I was just hoping for them not to leave right away. Right?
Yeah,
You want them around at least a couple of years after you train them.
Man,
But
I'm learning that as a
I'm
learning some of this as you know, I have 8 staff now, you know, and it's going through, some of them are in the adolescent age, so trying to give them that grace of what they'll be learning. But again, after 6 months, I expect you to kind of have this figured out, right? And then how much time you put into somebody to train. And we had stuff where we would get short-termers because either they're a college student or you're going to get, or they're with a program with Goodwill. So you really have to be realistic on how much time am I going to spend training this individual that I know is only going to be here a short period of time. So that's sort of stuff that we're learning, where you have a couple that are long-term. Yeah, especially
when you get them licensed and all that, but that's another story.
But you're investing into people though, and some people are getting, again, some things are going to flourish, and you know,
at first I was expecting everyone to be like me, like, okay, they're going to stay around for 8 years, 9 years, and dedicated and all that. But anyways,
so this book right here, it's not just for the ladies, right? Even though you're a Latina,
I'm a Latina,
but it's for anyone, right? Because it's more a book about, again, manifesting, you're having your vision, things that, again, we all go through in different cultures, and whether it's culturally, it could be man or female, right? Like what's expected and what we do, again, a lot has to do with our culture, but everybody has a story, and everybody should be doing their purpose and their why. So this book and what you're talking about it could touch everybody in their journey.
If I was a man and I read this and I was not helping my wife, then I would think twice. I would say, you know what? I'm going to be a teamwork with my wife. I'm going to support her, because my wife has something to offer, a lot to offer. Why am I going to be over here being selfish and just thinking of me? No, let's do teamwork. Let's have a meeting with our kids. That's how I did it.
Yeah, we had family meetings.
Yeah.
All right, look, we move into this house that Dad can afford. we can't really go out, but there's going to be a bigger room and 2 bathrooms, right? But before we make this decision, what do you guys think? We have a little family meeting in the living room. You know?
It's very important. And you want your family on your side, especially, you know, your husband, your kids.
Remember Kevin Jr.? One time he went and cut his own hair. You know, he's like, I want to save money, Dad, so I went in there and cut my own hair and stuff. Like, that's so cute. Let me take you to the barber now.
I cut hair too.
But it's like, like things that you would see the family do. I remember one time he, you know, for football, he was like, yeah, Dad, I'll just wear for Halloween, he just wore his football gear. So he's like, but he was, little man was putting in his sacrifice for the family, you know, at a young age, at 8 or 9 years old, he was realizing, like, you know, I don't want any extra expenses that, you know, I know we're trying to chase the dream right now or whatever.
So now that you mentioned it, my youngest son, I got him a costume that he wore the same one for 3 years. And he remembers, he said, Mom, remember that costume of the monk? And I wore it 3 years because you don't want to spend money on another one.
See?
It was a waste of money.
And when was this?
This is Jordan.
No, when was this? Like, so you guys still reminisce on it, you know, like you look back at some of the things that you might even realize
when he was little, you know, and I was so busy, and I'm like, it's a waste of time. Let's save our money instead.
So that's good. See, so there's sacrifice got to be made, teamwork.
Invest
you have your why.
Funds.
Yeah, you have, and then again, you guys, so interesting, because with this house that we stayed in when we moved, we were sitting in the living room, and it was so cold, the heater went out, and we could see our breath in the living room, and we're all covered up like with hoodies and stuff, you know. And then the guy came. It was cool because the guy that came, I actually fished with him, so he took really good care of us. Right, like, okay, I'll get this thing going for you. We moved and he fixed the heater, but it was so cold in that house that we could see our breath. We had beanies, so we tell that story. So as we're doing things now that we're building our empire, and we're able to get fast passes at Disneyland or Magic Mountain, or things we're able to do, or my grandchild here while we're working, she's watching, you know, Mickey Mouse Club up there while we're working together as a team. It's like, remember when we sat there in that cold living room, frigid, to where we're able to together.
And don't you feel so good? Yeah. To be able to look back and say, wow, look how far I've come.
Because before that, I was a hustler. I got a lot of money. Yeah. So to say I'm not going to go back in there and do that, I'm going to go this route to make sure that I'm free, I'm not in prison or jeopardizing stuff like that, the family name. I'd rather sit here and freeze. My daughter said, we're having wheelbarrows of fun, Dad. They'd rather be here doing this cold than me out here trying to be a baller and putting my future at risk, because I'd rather, you know, I want to have stuff, you know, but it's like, but it's not healthy that way. So we were able to reminisce on all that. Like, we went from this to that.
And never forget to be grateful.
Always grateful. Gratitude is
such a blessing that the day that I stopped saying thank you, you know, I had some friends that used to tell me, Alice, you say thank you too much. You say please too much. You say, oh, I'm sorry too much. Well, you know what? Sorry. I'm not gonna change it.
Yeah. That's the
That's
sorry
me.
one. Yeah. The sorry one. What are you sorry for? That's one I still work on, right? Like, I know people
I'm
that
sorry.
sometimes feel that way. They're like, always feel like they're doing something wrong or they need validation. And I'm going to give this book to somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty
Hope
cool.
they enjoy it.
So where do they find your book? Where do we find it? Let's talk about this before, because we're about to wrap it up.
Okay.
So, blooming into
the promise.
The promise.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that. It's autographed to me right there.
Yes.
To Kevin with much respect and admiration. Look at that. Wow. I'm going to have to autograph one of my books for you.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Give you a package for your
You find
grandchildren.
it at Amazon. You find it at Barnes & Noble. If you go to a Barnes & Noble and they don't have it, just tell them you saw it online so they won't charge you the shipping fees they ordered for you.
Blooming
and
into
you find
the
it
promise.
anywhere.
There's some of
registered to the whole world.
The photography that I would take, it was called In Due Time, because I do know that you can't rush the bloom. You can't go up to a rose and start pulling back the pieces. And then the picture I took was like this dew on the we're in Ojai, and it was dew all over this lady's roses. But you need the storm and you need that rain for it to grow. So there's going to be storms are going to come, but without the water that it brings, it's never going to bloom, right? And again, that's the seasonal stuff. So the whole thing about blooming and the time it takes. Another one I use is like like caterpillar, right? The time that it takes for you to go through that change, that metamorphosis, right? You got to go in the cocoon. You can't go pulling the cocoon open and be like, come out and fly, because if it's too soon, you'll fall and die. So the importance of blooming.
I chose the strawberry fields because I picked strawberries at age 14.
All right, hold on. Since you said that, hold on. Hold on.
Hold your book up again so people can see.
Okay. Here it is.
I'll sign this one for you. So if you look at our Coastal Critters book, you can see the fill markers right there inside of our book. See?
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
I love eagles.
Yeah, and plus I'm American Eagle and then the California bear. So this is about California and the stream. And then we talk about part on this one with growth is how the frog goes from a tadpole again. So again, the development, right? You start as a tadpole and you got to go through this life cycle.
And that's us.
To change to get there.
Yeah, that's us as humans.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. You can't stay in the egg forever.
No.
You can't get stuck in that middle age. You gotta, we're
learn as you grow and allow yourself to make mistakes, but it's okay. The next day, that mistake will be taken care of.
Keep growing.
Don't dwell on it.
Man, this is good stuff. All right, we
got
a last
victim.
Minute.
Last thing.
Oh yeah, don't be a victim. That's the one thing. Do not be a victim. And I used to do that. That's why I have these crutches out here where you have these.
I was a victim.
I'm the victim. Oh, I come from this area and I have this.
And blame others, never.
I'll show you them out there. We have blaming excuse on the crutches, and you can't limp around on that. Really can't. All right, you got 1 minute. Give them a little motivation to go home with. What do you got to leave our listeners with? Inspire them with something.
What I want to tell you is that once you believe in yourself and you believe what you're capable of, do not stop. Hold on to it. Hold on to your why. I'm sure we all have a why. To me, my kids were my why. I'm going to take them to a better life. And with my family support, I was able to. So your why is why I'm here, because of my why. Thank you, Kevin.
I know you're here because I thought you looked freaking amazing with all your motivation and inspiration. And that's why I said, hey, again, I think it's been about a year that we've been trying to get you on the show.
Yes.
But I know what you mean why you're here. I meant why you're here in my studio. It's because I knew that you'd be a great guest in what you're doing. Now, one question I have for you. So we do a lot of, we have guest speakers here. Would you be interested in maybe doing a guest speaker for like a career pathway and kind of an idea for our group?
Sure.
All right. We'll get that ironed out. To get them on camera, they can't say no.
I know. I thought about that. I'm here. I can't say no.
What is that?
We'll work on it. Trust me.
Yeah. I know you're busy, got stuff to do, but I think inspiring some of our youth and they come in here, again, the ladies as well and the fellas that we do, like we'll have a guest speaker here either on a third Saturday or a Tuesday or a Thursday night, for about an hour and just kind of going, we're doing the financial literacy part, again, building them, developing, but hearing people's real story and testimonial is something that, I know you check every box. For sure. Yes, and I love to inspire kids, especially because if one day they remember me and say, because of her, I'm not gonna give up. You know what? I know people say that, but to me, I'm very serious. I tell people, one day some kid's gonna give his valedictorian speech and he's gonna be like, and I just want to thank Kevin for the real guppy. I'm a guppy ranger. I know it'll happen one day, and it's interesting. I was even in the gym the other day because a guy I listened to, his name is Jim Ron. He's from the '80s that would, a lot of his development stuff, and he was saying that in the morning when I was going to the gym. You know, someday you'll end up in somebody's story, someday in somebody's testimony. And I was at home meal prepping, listening to him while I'm getting ready. So I'm leaving the gym, Legends, the other day, and this guy's like, "Hey man, how you been?" I'm like, "Hey man, that's good. You know, I've seen you around." He's like, "Bro, you inspired me, man. I started 2 businesses since we talked." His name is Jose. He texted me or Juan, but he stopped me coming out of the gym. I see him coming and going, but he's like, "Man, you talked to me. You inspired me. I like to get some coffee." And I was like, I got goosebumps. Yeah, I was like, "I just heard this morning. It's shit, it's crazy." So you're right. I'm sure other people are already, you know, that some of those women that you brought in maybe from that second round when you were showing them how to do it at the second round of an insurance agency that you left an impression on, you know, that you might not ever hear or see, but I'm sure with the years you put in there with developing people and stuff like that, you're in a lot of people's testimonial that you might not hear. Yeah, for sure. Yes. All right. It's after an hour. That was a good one. All right.
Thank you.
Alicia
Basurto.
Man, that sounds good. I mean, that was my Spanish radio voice right there.
Okay, and I'm going to rewrite it in Spanish. So
that's awesome.
I just have to find the right publisher.
I got to let you go because I'm gonna keep talking. It's already an hour. I got to get to I got to see my tax lady. But I know that you know. And again, I don't know what your circuit is, but I don't know if you get into the educational system. And I know this area out here is always looking for vendors to go in and talk to them Spanish and English, man. Plan. So if you, I know the right people.
Oh, you do.
Oh, look,
we need to.
This is what it said today. Let's share this with you. Let's see. It says there was a podcast that was shared from Ventura County Office of Education. Mentioned you in a reel. This local hero is helping kids find comfort and purpose by teaching them how to fish. Meet Kevin Brannon in the latest episode of Focus on Education podcast.
Wow.
VCOE, and that's a kid that graduated from Continuation High School, right? So there it is. So you know, if you need a plug to the school, I know the right people.
Anything. I honestly, I've only been to one school once. That I was invited as a guest for a career day, and I'm like, I want more, but I just didn't.
I know the people.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I want to do it.
That's how you work, networking. If you're not networking, you're not working. All right, Barry, get us out of here. I got to do some chicken and rice. I got to get to my calories. See you next time.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Let's go.
Okay.
To learn more about Real Guppy Outdoors, please visit www.communitykevin.com. Brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.